Now, delighted to say we have Shane Dowling of Limerick with us on the line. Afternoon.
Afternoon, Joe. How are you?
Better than you, I suspect. Commiserations. It's a sickener to lose at a semi-final at any stage.
It is. It's very, very disappointing, to be honest. I think that's my third one now, and I suppose the problem is you don't know when you're going to get back there, or if you'll ever get back there, and while everyone wants to think that, Limerick are going to be there for whatever amount of years, it's not always the case. I hope I'm wrong, but as you say, when you get the chance, you have to take it. And I suppose it's not that we didn't take it. We just didn't get over the line, and that's the way it went. Is
it any easier to accept when you have an All-Ireland medal already?
No, to be honest. And if you spoke to me last year and asked me the same question, I'd have said, like I always said, that in Limerick, especially considering I suppose the record that we have, that all I wanted was just the one All-Ireland, and if 2 and 3 followed, all the better. And I kind of said, I'd be able to relax as a player. I wouldn't be getting as nervous or as tensionable, whatever you want to call it. After winning one, but that hasn't been the case at all. Even throughout the year, I thought the whole year be a lot more easier and everything. But no, you're still as driven. And when you get that close, I mean, you want to win, and it's no consolation at the minute anyway. Maybe when I look back down the road, it might be, but not at the minute.
What are your memories of the dressing room on Saturday evening?
Listen, it was just a huge disappointment.
Quiet?
Very, very quiet. And I mean, it's gas, like the difference 12 months. Brian Cody came into us last year and gave a lovely speech and was really, really thorough in what he said, and he really wanted us to go on and win the All-Ireland. And 12 months later, he came in and he said, listen, I ain't going to stay here too long, he says, because I know exactly the feeling. And I suppose that's the beauty with Brian. He says it as it is. And the memory, I suppose, is the difference 12 months can make. When you see him standing there, you're looking forward to an All-Ireland semi-final. 12 months on, he's standing there and he's looking towards an All-Ireland final after beating you. So I suppose it's just sport, and that's the way it is.
Do you say anything? Does anybody say anything, or is that all for down the line?
No, I mean, John obviously said just a couple of words, you know what I mean? And I suppose because you don't know when you're going to get together as a group, or that may be the last time for 2019 we'll be together as a group. So, I mean, you just have to thank everyone. And I suppose there isn't a whole pile someone can say. And I suppose John is, I suppose, he's extremely proud of us and extremely proud of everyone that's been associated with the team for the last 3 years. And, he expresses that a lot. And, he expressed it again Saturday. And just because you were beaten, that doesn't change anything.
And did you go back to Limerick that night?
I got the train home at 9:15. The miners were there as well, so we got back into Limerick for around 11:15 or so. So
right,
yeah.
And is it find a bar somewhere and get together and drown your sorrows? Or separate ways?
Everyone is different. I went in. I think I had 3 or 4 pints and I went away home. I just didn't want to be out, to be honest. And it was fine because we kind of gathered in a quiet space with just ourselves, but I just had no interest in being out. I think everyone was just very, very upset and disappointed, and I know everyone can go out and do what they like, but I mean at the same time it doesn't make a difference. The result was the result, whether you drown your sorrows or not, and it was very, very disappointing and even hard to do that on Saturday evening.
So you wouldn't have got together on Sunday for a few drinks again, no?
Oh no, Sunday was a different story. Yeah, and even it's gas, like whether it be after the All-Ireland last year or anything with the club, I don't particularly enjoy the night of big games because you're after putting so much into it mentally and physically that I get tired very, very quickly, and I just don't enjoy it. But the following day is a different story.
And did you watch the other semi-final together?
No, most days I was late getting out to where the lads were, so I watched it just with a couple of other friends inside Limerick. I didn't pay a whole pile of attention to it, no, but I watched it. I did. I watched the whole game, but I didn't really, I didn't study it, I suppose, as much as I would have had if we were there.
Yeah, you're not as engaged with it. You're not looking for a day down the line. It was an epic. I'm sure that was apparent, but I guess as you're watching it through in a different way.
It was a class game, and if for everyone that was in Croke Park or for anyone that's from their respective counties, it was a humdinger of a game. It was really enjoyable to watch. As disappointing as it was for us, I mean, there was a magic game of hurling and the scores that were in it. And being honest, at no stage did I see Tipperary winning the game. as I was watching it. I just thought Wexford were that bit better, and huge credit to Tipperary. I think Davey said in his interview afterwards, like, all you can say is fair play to him, because everything was thrown at him. And even that, I don't know if people realise the significance that point, we'll say that where Hawkeye had to come back and they got a disallowed goal. I'd imagine the cheer that went up from the Wexford support, that would really sicken the team. And I mean, Tipperary got so many sucker punches and kept on coming back. It was fair play to them. No, they really showed a lot of character.
You lads were at Enfield the weekend before Saturday, isn't that right?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago, yeah. I presume that's all in an effort to not let the 4-week gap get to you, because the very convenient thing people will point to when they look at that first quarter on Saturday is that the 4-week gap played a factor. What's your reading of this whole situation, the 4-week gap, how you felt going into it, and what happened in that first quarter? You
have to respect the stats that are there, and that teams that have won Munster haven't done fantastically after that, but I don't buy it, being honest. I know the stats are there, but I don't buy it. I mean, if anything, I think it played to our strengths, because we got a week off after the Munster final, so it was really only a 3-week run-in for us, and within that 3 weeks you only have 2 weeks of real hard graft, because the final week is the final week, and we've a routine for a long time now how that goes. But I mean, we just had 2 solid weeks of hard work and the week leading into it. And in amongst all that, we got a lovely break as well. I mean, to get a week off there was really, really nice. And people were able to go in and do a few bits and pieces that, you'd rarely get to do throughout the season. So the one thing I'd say is that I think if the management or anyone had their time back, I don't think we'd have changed a single thing. And that's satisfying in itself, because there's nothing worse with saying, what if we done that, or what if we done this? I think, in fairness to John and the lads, they got everything spot on. I don't believe it was a factor early on. I just think we came across an intensity that we probably haven't come across for a long time, and took us a while to get the grips to it. Okay, so you don't feel, or none of the lads felt, I'm losing a slight edge here, or I'm losing that bit of fitness in the 4 weeks? That wasn't... No, I think it's no relevance whatsoever. Okay. It's amazing, that's a big statement, that you mightn't have come across that intensity before, or certainly in a while. Well, I think, I don't think we have, been honest. What Kilkenny done the other day was savage. They were unreal in how they approached everything, and I think it was a step above what we came across this year anyway, in terms of, Tipperary down in Thurles that was a big day for them, and they were quite intense that day. But I think Kilkenny they were on another level yesterday, but I think we got the grips on them after a while. It did take us a while. Missed a couple of opportunities. I always say the scoreboard might be a fair reflection at times, and while Tipperary were certainly the better team early on, I think we missed a couple of opportunities, and I think if we took them, it wouldn't have looked half as bad. But they were definitely a lot more intense, and what they brought to the first 15 minutes was, something we probably didn't experience this year. Yeah, and is it, I presume they're no fitter, stronger than this Limerick team. Like, this Limerick team have been talked about as one of the best conditioned that we've seen. That's a mindset thing, is it? That's an aggression thing. That's them at a pitch that you aren't quite prepared for, as opposed to anything else, I presume. I wouldn't say we weren't prepared for it. Right. We were. We knew what, the minute the result happened, we knew what Kilkenny would bring. It's just the fact that we just had to deal with it in front of you, you know what I mean? Yeah. I wouldn't say, to be honest, I don't think when you look at all the top teams that are out there, in terms of conditioning and strength and all that, I think they're all very, very similar. I don't think there's a whole pile of difference, really. In fairness, Joe Connor's done a fantastic job with us and how he goes about it as well. But I don't think that was had any influence on the outcome of the game anyway. I was struggling to remember a game where there were so many occasions where the man in possession was just swarmed by 2, 3, 4 lads around him. Both sides, actually. There were a number of passages of play where there was a turnover, and then another turnover, and then another turnover. Just sheer work rate, kind of men possessed around the man on the ball. Yeah, I think you said it was both teams. There was a good number of scores that come to my mind straight away, of where it wasn't really skillful hurling or anything like that. It was just pure hard work rate and honesty, and people being turned over. Like, they were putting in some savage hits early on. The tables turned in. We were able to do that to them, and it ebbed and flowed for the whole game, really. But I suppose they probably were that bit better at that side of it on the day, and I think we could have obviously got some sort of a result out of it. But I think we, with a big mountain to climb after the first quarter, but we got it back. But I suppose we just left. There was a bit of a gap. But I always say, to be honest, a good team, you have to be a good team to win All Ireland. but you need to be a good team with a bit of luck as well. And I mean, we had that bit of luck last year. There's no question about it. I do believe we were the best team in the championship last year, but we got that bit of luck as well. And yesterday, we didn't get that bit of luck, and Kilkenny did, and that's what you need, in my opinion. That you need a rub of the green in big games like that, especially when there's so many teams are so close. You do need that rub of the green.
Yeah, we were touching it last night, where like it must be hard to digest when hurling is so full of these tiny moments that just could go either way, like the amount of rucks, and you're back to within, I think you got to within a point 4 times, but just rubs of the green, these moments where whoever manages to get this ball into their hand is going to dictate the shape of the game. Like, now we're here on Monday, Tuesday, and you're kind of thinking, like, how do you plan for that? How do you digest that? How do you accept that?
Yeah, well, we're aware. It's you just sometimes you need to put yourself in positions to get that rub of the green as well. I mean, we've got it back to a point, and there's a puck out to come, and Owen Murphy hits it 100 yards down the field. I mean, who's going to win the breaking ball? If it falls left, we could win it. If it falls right, Kilkenny could win it. But I mean, you said there we got it back to a point 4 times. I mean, it's probably a credit to Kilkenny that they didn't allow us bring the game to level or take the lead, because I do believe if we got the game to level or did take a lead, like, I mean, we never led in the game. Yeah. And the more I'm talking here, the more I'm even thinking there's probably a reason, Kilkenny must have been the better team. I mean, we didn't take the lead. As you said, we got it back to point 4 times. We couldn't get it level. And that's, I suppose, Kilkenny were just that bit better, weren't they? Just. I felt we had extra time written all over it, to be honest, and I thought you might win then. And you should have had a 65 at the end. Your manager is incredibly magnanimous about that afterwards, and he said, look, these things happen. We're not going to have a pity party, but these are the margins. If the umpire, if the linesman sees that it should be a 65, then we're looking at extra time. Yeah, and listen, the worldliness dog knows that, it obviously should have been a 65, but it wasn't given, and I don't think that the linesman was there and he saw it and didn't give it. I just think it was human error and he missed it. And I actually feel sorry for the referees and linesmen, because players are given 9 months of they're working so hard to get something, and it comes down to a decision that they just might miss. It's not that they're bad or good or any different. They're humans. They might miss it. And I mean, we saw the technology that was there to award a point to Wexford. I mean, why couldn't that technology be brought in, or someone just have a quick word in his ear? I mean, they must have someone looking at television screens at that the whole time. And I mean, quick word in the ear just to say, hey, that's a 65, and it's problem solved, didn't it? And I do feel sorry for him, like that ref, and listen, I made my point known, and I know Brian Geary and Darragh Donovan and a few more made their point known as well, but I do feel sorry for him, to be honest, and that's not an easy thing to say. I mean, it'd be very easy to stand here saying, it's not good enough and all that, but again, I don't believe that they did it, that they saw it and just didn't award it. They just missed it. And no, I know they were only 10 yards away, or the linesman was only 10 yards away, and I mean, thousands of people in the stand saw it. So listen, he just missed it, but there should be something there to help him out. I mean, there's too much at stake these days. There's fellas putting in too much work. And I mean, that's fine in Croke Park yesterday, but I mean, referees down the country where there mightn't be as much protection, or where people can get onto the field, like, the frustrations become so high straight after a game that if things don't happen, or if referees aren't protected, something could happen that no one wants to see.
Let's talk about you and your season then. So 6 games, you started one of them. That was the Tipperary game. You played about 43 minutes that day. So generally, looking at the minutes you've come on in, a lot of the time it's kind of around 56, 57 minutes. There was one day 53 minutes, one day 63, but a lot of around 56, 57 would be the pattern. Incredibly frustrating.
You have your homework done, and yeah, it is frustrating, is it? Listen, I suppose, it panned out the way it panned out last year, and considering how things worked, I suppose it's just a case of, I knew coming on that something special had to happen. I knew that we weren't going to win that game by just getting point after point, or unlikely anyway. Now, we did against Cork last year, we were 7 points down, and we got point after point after point. But I suppose I do take satisfaction in knowing that I could change the game, and or try change the game even, and you're being given I take a bit of satisfaction in that John is nearly trusting you to say, listen, we've got this for now, I want you to win and finish the game. you know, and obviously you'd want to be there from the start. Everyone does. I've said that, and everyone knows that. But you know, I suppose I have to take a sense of confidence too, that, you know, he puts a trust in me to try go on and see out the game. That's what I can take for it.
And is it like a pre-agreed kind of pattern where he says to you, look, Shane, I know you hate this. I know you bloody skipped the anthems last year or skipped the parade last year. You know, when you're on the bench and you don't want to be reminded of the fact that you're not starting, that it kind of kills you on some level, but I'm going to bring you on. Rest assured, you're going to come on. You're going to play a crucial role in those last 10, 15 minutes. Or does he say nothing at all? Like, how does it work?
I mean, it works. I'm one of 37 and I work the same way as everyone else.
So no guarantees. He's not saying to you, look, I know you're disappointed, but you will come on. He's not giving you that reassurance. No,
but I mean, you can't say that, because I mean, what happens if two cornerbacks get injured or a cornerback gets sent off? Or I mean, you can't. You know, I'm sure he's different ideas going into the game of what he wants, but you know, you can't pre-plan anything. You know, in my opinion, anyway, and you just have to wait to be called. I mean, you want to get on the pitch as soon as possible, but there's nothing pre-planned, I can assure you that. And sure, listen, everyone, you know, any person that plays hurling, you know, wants to be playing as much as possible. Everyone knows that. He knows that, and you know, but as I said, I'm one of 37, and I'm just very, very privileged to be, you know, to be on the Limerick team. As in, you know, when I grew up as a kid, I just wanted to be play hurling for Limerick.
Yeah.
You know, as I got older, I wanted to win All Ireland for Limerick. I didn't know whether it was going to happen. And you know, then you go on and had the season that we had last year, and you know, I'm just happy to be there at this stage. I would have, you know, as a kid, if I was told the way my career would have panned out, yeah, you know, you would have rather a few more minutes, obviously, but I'm just happy to be there.
Are you getting better at being a sub? It's kind of a strange question, but by that I mean, are you getting better at dealing with the disappointment and being a positive person around the dressing room? And then are you getting better at watching games properly?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I suppose there's a point there, but you know, last year I would have learned a lot, I suppose, and you know, you can take that into this year, really. You know, that you have, you know, where you're going to be coming on, so you be very, you know, keep a very close eye on what's going on in around the position that you're going to be coming on, whether there's space, whether the men are following, so you can weigh up a lot of options before you come on. So if you do it correctly, you can actually try and have an advantage coming on. And that's what I try doing now, because I mean, there's no point just sitting down for 50 minutes and all of a sudden, you know, you're thrown on and not know what's going on. I think you have to be well aware of the runnings of the game and how the opposition team are approaching it. I do think that's important.
Yeah, because if you're coming on with 13 minutes to go, you don't have 5 minutes to get a feel for the pattern. You need to hit the ground running.
You do, yeah, exactly. And and listen, that 13 minutes feels like 3 as well. It absolutely just flies, like, you know.
You could easily not touch the ball in 13 minutes.
But you listen, I said it last year. I think I touched the ball twice in the All Ireland final in the 20 minutes.
Right.
You know, and I know obviously one of them was a significant touch, but you could easily, and that's happened where you come on and you don't get near the ball. But I suppose what you just have to do is you have to come on and you say, listen, I've been training for 9 months, 3 days a week in the gym and everything. There's 13 minutes here. I ain't going to stop running, and I'm just going to try to do as much as I can. And that's the way you have to approach it. And
are there days where, like, you know, you train for 9 months in the gym all the time, you come on for your 13, 14 minutes, you're probably pumped full of energy drinks and pasta and carb loaded and ready to go in case you need to play the 70, and you're almost there at full time saying, I haven't even got a sweat up yet, like I need to go for a run or something.
Yeah, but everyone is very well conditioned, and everyone knows that, you know, we always say that if extra time, we train so that to go, you know, I think everyone trains not to play 70 minutes. Everyone goes a bit beyond that to have an extra bit in the locker. So when you're coming on for that small bit of time, I mean, you should have more energy than lads that are on the pitch. There's no question about that. You're fresh coming on. And you know, that's another thing as well. You're saying, listen, no matter what situation, there has to be a small bit of tiredness creeping in. Wherever, you know, like if I'm playing a person that has been running around after Garrod or Tam for 55 minutes and putting in big tackles, I mean, it has to take its toll. So you're hoping to have a bit of an advantage there as well. Yeah.
Have a listen. Here's Dave McIntyre reminding people of the goal on Saturday.
They have lost their cool. They might benefit here though. Cian Lynch, there's numbers flying forward. Kyle Hayes to Dowling. What a goal! Dowling, was comes up with the most precise, brilliant finish.
You can barely hear Dave on commentary because the ground erupts. I like, it felt like the ground was moving. I don't know what it was like for you, but that celebration, and you were kind of pumping your knees high and your arms were out as if there was something big going on internally. I know the joy of the moment, but I guess for you, when you want to play so desperately, to come on again at a big moment and make that impact. I'd say that was almost as magical as last year.
Might have been if we won the game by a point.
In that moment, though, for that brief moment, for you personally, like, I'm on the bench all the time, to come on and do that, there must be a moment of, yes, I've done it again.
Listen, it's an All-Ireland semi-final with 60,000 people there, and everyone has put in it. And I mean, everyone in Limerick have been so supportive of us for the last long number of years, and you just want to keep the thing going, And yeah, listen, I say it in a big moment like that, or the significance of it. I do get carried away for a couple of seconds afterwards. It's buzz, it's pride, it's passion. But I knew, as I said, coming on the field, that something has to happen here. I didn't obviously know whether it was going to come from me or someone, but we needed something to happen, because I just looked at that's the way the game was going, and I thought the minute that happened, back to 2 points, there was still 7 minutes of normal time or so to play. And I really thought that this crowd were gone nuts. Everything was coming. We were just coming right at the right time. And we got David Reedy brought it back to a point. But we just couldn't get that equaliser. And they broke the momentum. And then there was a lot of scrappy throw-ins and rucks and everything. And, and in fairness to Kilkenny, they, after a couple of minutes, they broke the momentum, and we just couldn't get the equaliser.
Yeah, I thought that was the moment as well. I thought you were going to go on and win it then. It just felt like you'd plucked this one out of the fire. Bad first quarter, but you'd slowly but surely won your way back into the game, and that was the moment. What do you remember about the goal, if anything? Like, we talked last year and you were talking about visualisation. It was kind of fascinating. We were joking that you're lying in bed with a helmet and hurl on. You can't have visualised a goal like that too often, I wouldn't think. It's it's just such an unorthodox way to try and go about scoring a goal. Like, so your thought process, you're obviously having to quickly weigh up what's going on. The angles are narrowing for you, and there's only one way, really, you realise, it seems, that I'm going to get a shot off here.
Yeah, I actually, when Cody passed me the ball, I saw someone coming, and I thought I was a lot closer to the goal, and I thought it was Owen Murphy was coming out at me, not Paul Murphy. Right. So I was actually prepared just to kick it in or just to tap it past him. So when I got the ball and looked up, I was actually kind of shocked. I didn't realise it was so far out, but I also didn't realise that I still had another defender in front of me. But listen, I'll be honest, if I feel I do something good, or if someone does something good, I'd say it. If I do something bad, I'll not say it. I actually don't genuinely, think it's as good as people may be saying, because, I mean, it was just, people have done it before. You know other option, you just throw the ball up and bat it, and it goes in. It was a good goal, but there was no other option, and that's not being
modest. No, I know.
I do believe that's the case. And if I was there again, people say, "No, how would you have thought of that so quick?" Sure, there's no other option. Like, you're playing county hurling. You're there for them particular reasons, and I don't believe if maybe I don't know what anyone else would have done, but there was no other option but just to do that. And
I'll tell you what the other option was. The other option was, you go, oh crap, I'm in a blind alley here, I'm about to get closed off, and then you do get closed off. Like, we have seen people get caught in front of goal and shoulder dispossessed, chance gone. That's why, that was the genius of it. Like, I know it's instinctive, so it doesn't feel like you did that much, because you're saying, well, what else could I do? That wouldn't occur to everyone. That was the genius of it. And then you must have been conscious, I need to get a lot of power into this, because you were still a bit out.
I actually did the exact same thing in the league this year against Kilkenny down Nolan Park.
Right, I didn't see that. Yeah,
it was very, very similar. And Owen Murphy saved it, and I hit it at him. So I suppose it was just a case of that. And sure, listen, everyone knows how he's an unbelievable goalie. Like, everyone knows that. So it was a case of, there was no point in if I had to put it in a place that was, I had to bring the risk factor into it. I put it that way. There was no point in just throwing it up and hitting it and hoping it went in, because that doesn't happen against goalkeepers like him from that far out. So I had to bring the risk factor into it. That's why I had to try aim for the corner, because if it didn't, it wasn't going to go in. And I suppose that's the reason it did win, is because sometimes you have to bring a risk. You have to bring a risk factor into a shot selection, because if you don't, then you ain't going to score. Now, a lot of times that ball could trickle wide, or it could hit the post. But obviously, fortunately, it just went in.
Yeah, sure did. I'd say when the disappointment of this week slowly but surely ebbs away, you'll be able to look back on it with some fondness, because it's an amazing moment. One kind of question people might be curious about, when you win in All-Ireland and then you won the league as well, and geez, you just looked like a Rolls Royce, and this thing was going to run on again, and the age profile of the team was so good. Do you feel like, hand on heart, with the All-Ireland medal in your back pockets, you were able to train with the same intensity and desire and go at it the same way, that you put every bit of your soul into it this year the same way you did when you were trying to get up the mountain last year?
I don't think. I know we did. I mean, we know we did. We trained every bit as hard and more than we did last year. It's just the group that's there, some management that are there. We don't take anything. I mean, maybe before the Cork game, things did dip a small bit, and that reflected in our performance. But I mean, you're human beings. You're not machines, and you're not going to be able to produce it week in, week out, of course, throughout the year. And it's going to be the same in every team. There's going to be dips in performance on the training field and on the match day as well. And that was the Cork thing was probably the best thing to happen to us this year. In terms of that, you know, there might have been a couple of things there that we had to revisit, and if it didn't happen in the Cork game, it could have looked further down the road, and who knows where that could have led to us exiting the championship then. So, you know, I think maybe I could have been taken off the ball before that, and ever so slightly in such competitive competition makes a big difference. So I would say that nearly was a blessing, and you know, we got to revisit a couple of things and go back again. And you know, I suppose last year we were able to reference things from last year as well, saying, listen, we know what we have to do, we know where we have to get to, and if we don't get there, we ain't going to win. So I suppose it was good knowing that the work that we done last year was obviously successful, and we were able to go back and look at that and bring that again this year. But I don't think at any stage really throughout the year, with the exception maybe of that where we didn't put everything into it like we did last year, we put as much into this as anything. And I mean, our league performances reflected that. You know, we'd obviously won it. I mean, and like, you know, it's so competitive. Like, we're not, or Kilkenny aren't, or Tipperary or anyone. There's no one a 10-point better team in this championship. There's only a couple of points between everything. We did everything in our powers to try retain the thing, but I mean, it's just so difficult, and everything is so competitive, as I keep on saying. Like, you just need so many things. And even like, you look at Tipperary last year, like, you know, it was against Clare where they hit the post, and then Clare went up and got a goal, and all of a sudden Tipper out of the championship. So they're the fine margins. But listen, Tip got a nice break last year. The lads might have got a break for a long number of years, and I'm sure they went away and enjoyed themselves, and they came back very, very fresh and very hungry. And I suppose if there is any consolation for us, you know, I suppose we can go away now and go back to the clubs and take a bit of time off and come back at it again, because, you know, we're very, very lucky to have a fantastic setup in Limerick with a fantastic group of players. And I've been involved in Limerick teams where, you know, we just haven't been good enough, and that's really just the bottom line. Like, so we just got to enjoy it now, because, as I say, I don't know how long it's going to last for. I hope it's going to last for a long time, but it may not. And when you get to them semi-finals and, you know, the league finals and Munster finals, you have to grasp them, because you just don't know when they're going to come around again. Yeah,
very rare, precious commodities, aren't they? Last question, gun to your head, who's going to win the final? And will you go to it? Will you watch it? Will you be able to enjoy it?
I will not be able to enjoy it. Definitely not. Will I watch it? I'm sure I will. I've too much love for the game of hurling not to watch it. And I think Kilkenny will win it, because they're you know, I'm saying because their work rate, because their physicality, because of everything that they have, their core principles. But I mean, Tipperary were just as good as Kilkenny were on Sunday, as Kilkenny were on the Saturday. So you're going to have two big teams really going for it. And I mean, in fairness, Tipperary's forwards have a touch of class, but I just think Kilkenny have come right. They had a lot of injuries at the start of the year. They've had a fantastic performance against Cork, obviously a great performance against us. And even their performances against Wexford, you know, this year, when you look at it, I mean, how that form has been held up as well, because Wexford have done extremely well. So in fairness to Kilkenny, everything they've done this year mainly they've done very well, and I think they'll take a bit of beating in the final, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's just the force of will of Brian Cody as well. There's just something special about what he's able to do. Interesting you mentioned him coming into the dressing room last year. I hear a lot of people say he has an aura in those moments, and he leaves an impact when he comes in and speaks. I presume that's kind of one of your few limited dealings with him, really?
Yeah, I've met Brian a number of times, to be honest. And listen, how he can keep for, I mean, whatever, is it 20 years or how long has he had it there now? Like, how he can keep going. Because I see with most, you know, inter-county managers, I'd say these days, and I can only obviously speak from my own experience, and like from players and managers, the amount of work that's involved there now is just unreal. Like, so how he can keep going and going and going, and have the same will to win and energy. I mean, even the last day, like, I'd try to observe everything when you're sitting down, and Jesus, to see the go of him, I'd imagine it was no different now than it was, you know, as I was watching him as a kid on the telly, like, and you just have to take your hat off them. And yeah, you could say and listen, it is a results game, but outside of that, for the man just to have the passion and the will to win and the drive that he's had now for so long, that's incredible. You really, really have to take your hat off them.
Yeah. Well, sure, look, we'll be talking to you when you're a manager in 30 years' time, still going strong.
30, I'd say about 3. And I'm only joking.
Good to have you on as ever, Shane Dowling. Thanks a mil.
Thanks a million. Cheers.